Hello everybody. As promised, we're going to talk about my tier list. And I see people are uh, flowing in, so let's start with some general stuff. First of all, this tier list is based off theoretical character power, not uh, I'm not talking about which character is the best for winning tournaments right now, because nobody ever knows the matchup well, and I'm not going to talk which character is great for ranked sets, etc. So I'm just going to explain why I think these characters are good, theoretically wise, meaning that their potential might not yet be, fully explored or something. And why are tier lists so different in different regions is quite obvious, because different regions have different good players, which can unlock a character to a certain degree. And of course, tournaments like Evolution are a good measure of which region has the better players, but it's still one tournament. It's or even two tournaments are not really a good representation of that. For example, Skill, who is right now probably the best Soul Calibur player in the world, one of them, has failed miserably at EVO Japan. He lost twice pretty early on, and then at Evolution he did much better. At FSOE and Invitational he did fantastic job. So it really is often, and it's obvious, right? But also what I want to say is that also not just good players, but also different regions play different play styles, and that also affects character placement greatly. For example, Japan, they play a very cautious, very risk-reward based game, very neutral based game. Thus, they are characters who are strong in Japan are generally characters that are really good neutral based characters, are good at punishing, have strong tools at neutral game to interrupt, etc. So thus Japan usually rates Shanghua, for example, higher than the rest of the world. And France, for example, except for a large, definitely a large number of top players that this country have, many people just play very pattern-based games, setup-based games, so characters that allow for a good attack flow, like, well, Emmy. I don't really know where Emmy is in French tier list. Well, then again, top players might have different opinions, but in general, I'm seeing that French players tend to, you know, sway toward that play style. So they will have different view of tier list, and of course they are heavily impacted by Kif doing well, by Skill doing well, by mm, they don't really have any good secret players. Well, sorry, Panto, I don't really know how well you fare against other top players, so I haven't seen you in a while, so can't say anything. So, and yeah, so French is different story, and then Russia and USA, a lot of Russian players. Well, besides, I want to say that besides me and Rufus, all Russian players tend to play either a heavily pattern-based game like Edge, either they just want to make big reads. Well, Edge also wants to make big reads, and US players, really, when I was watching Invitational, for example, I wasn't really satisfied with what I saw, because I was actually disappointed, because a lot of players made bad, stupid moves, and those moves paid out somehow, and that didn't really look to me like a pro level gaming, especially during. I'm sorry, something is up with my throat. Well, anyway, I saw Sefukai play against I think it was against Signia or Boom, I don't really remember, and he was like Safite versus Yoshimitsu, and he was running towards Boom, having massive life lead. I think every time Xev was able to get a pretty significant lead, it was like 70% to Boom or Signia being down to yellow, half his yellow life, so it's real low. One, you know, uh, decent move will kill him. And twice, and I'm not even saying that Sophitia at this point you don't wanna play, you don't wanna run in, you just wanna play patiently because you have a lot of, life. You can just wait out, you can just space out, but no, that's not Xefukai way. Uh, he was just running toward his enemy, Signia, and when Signia was back to the wall, back to the edge, and was doing a throw. And Signia dug this throw twice and wrung him out twice, having big life lead. So that's and then he did it again on the third round. This time Signia didn't duck magically, but what I'm saying is isn't that really dumb move to make? And another dumb move that cost Xefukai the win. Well, probably finals or something. He was playing against Kinetic Clash, and if you remember that the winning round, the decisive round, Xev once again, Xev has a massive life lead. Just go back, dude. Wait out. No, he just Kinetic Clash is standing back to the ring edge, and Ivy has a great reversal ring out, well, decent at least. So she can just randomly throw out a move, obviously, and ring you out. And then what Kinetic Clash does, he just jumps, and he does that pretty far away. So it was another really dumb move. I think it didn't warrant to jump. So he jumped, and his 7 BB is a 2 move that reverse ring out, and Xefukai watches him fly, and then he decides to run in suddenly just out of the blue, and this move is slow, you can react to it. There's no need to do that, right? And Xev just runs in and gets hit by a second move of 7BB and gets run out. I don't know, maybe he was stoned or something that happens to him. I heard that, but well, that kind of things that's not really a strong play, and the reason I think why he is doing that, maybe because he's not thinking about this stuff and just compensate by his other really strong abilities as a fighting game player. But anyway, he's just a lot of USA players I watch are often doing bad choices, are often doing big reads, even if that costs uh, the game. When in my opinion, there is always time for you to make big reads when you're lower in life, and it doesn't mean you have to make big reads when you have a obvious life advantage over your enemy. So a lot of US players play like this, and so in US charts, probably characters that are better at making big reads, big boy damage will be higher. Well, besides obvious top tier characters that are kinda difficult at this point to argue. So anyway, I see people are coming, more and more people are coming. So let's start with talking about actual tiers or actual characters. So yeah, David Blaine is asking me why is my stream labeled Russian. Well, that's an obvious mistake. I didn't plan to. I just didn't change it. Okay, and Cassandra isn't. I think she's not a top character. I'll talk about that. And if I were to place her on this list, I'd place her either at the end of A tier or maybe somewhere in the beginning of B tier. But I'll get to that when I get there. So let's talk about Aswell first. Well, there's not much to talk about Aswell. It's been said over and over again. I think this character range and safety and ability and close range abilities are phenomenal. Everything he does better than anybody else. And well, it's not exactly, well, he has to either have less damage, right, or have less range, or have less frames. He has to let go of something, and the reason why I think Aswell is broken is not specifically so bad compared to other characters, and we see Aswell lose in tournament a lot. Despite I think tournament is the best environment for Azul. Well, I think Azul is so good because he absolutely denies neutral game, and I said that on Twitter already. I think he just denies you neutral game, and a lot of characters who are really based on that cannot play this game, and Azul can, and even if Azul player sucks at neutral, he will still be pretty good at that because of how much range, safety, and everything else he has. Then his mix-up is like Mitsurugi's soul charged mix-up, but without soul charge, and so what Aswell warrants is you always want to play 50-50. Well, you always want to play the big read game against him. You can't really get around that. You always have to press. You always have to do something with him because his buttons are so good. You can back away, you can barely with punish anything, even if you read the range he covers is so huge. And if you block, there is no reward because everything is safe. So you see, all you have to submit to, you have to just press a button and pray. You have to just try to throw him and pray he doesn't duck. You just have to duck yourself when you think he's gonna throw and pray that it works out. Yeah. And there's and you always sometimes you have to press hoping to counter hit, etc. And Asvel is better at all of those things than you are. So you see, advantage is quite clear. And if you are constantly forced to play 50-50s that are in your enemy's favor, well, obviously you have the best character, and that's what happens. And it's not like he's unbeatable. Other characters can do stuff, but particularly some characters with big punishment damage can do some. But that's how he rolls. That's I think he's better. He's not no way Hilda level. I don't think he's even Viola level broken, because despite Viola having flaws, she was kinda she still had some weaknesses, but she her randomness, her ability to just kill you in a touch or two touches was kind of dumb. It warranted kind of random gameplay, but unlike Aswell, where you can still guess multiple times, get a good read and get a win. Uh, uh, yeah, so I'm reading a commentary by Jaeger. Yeah, thank you, Jaeger. I hope my English is understandable for you. Anyway, so yeah, I think Aswell is kind of fair, but he is at the same time he's just stronger than everybody else, and there is a good reason why. Okay, so let's go to A plus tier, and Siegfried is. I don't know if I have to talk too much about Siegfried. This character has sick Okizami. He has great counter hit buttons. He has a lot of range. He has like a lot of guard burst, and on top of that he has incredible comeback potential, and that's important in this game because how snowbally it can be sometimes. So yes, Siegfried is just someone who can press a lot of buttons and take damage for doing wrong, for pressing them wrongly, and then he can still come back pretty easily for the sole fact of him having this Dark Legacy stuff. So this is something pretty, and if he only had that, I mean, his design is pretty interesting, and I think that's really cool design. I mean, the character that is based off counter hitting you often, and a character that can press quite a lot, because other characters have to think, do I really want to try this and get punished? Well, Siegfried doesn't really care so much because he gets this Dark Legacy and he gets back into the game. But what I think is pretty fucked up is that he has such a good burst damage, and he has such a great Akizami, and a lot of characters cannot even evade his base hold B on wake up at all. Like, what the hell? So yeah, and soul charged characters, all characters can't escape base hold K, soul charged, which like chip damage, that is just busted, and chip damage, guard burst, hits OTG. So yeah, That's fucked up. So yeah, I think this is the main reason why it brings him a little over the top over other characters. I know a lot of people complain Dark Legacy is like blah blah. He comes back from nothing, but I think that's the way he's designed to work. And well, maybe some damage numbers could be adjusted a little bit, like 6B damage is busted, but it's still something you can work with, but not when you're flashing, and you're flashing real quick against Sig, and that's why. And also I think guard burst damage is there also for a reason, because counter hit characters tend to work this way, that they burst your guard and then you have to press against characters who are better at pressing random buttons. So that is also something that's there for a reason. It's not like it's an oversight, but I mean, all these things coming together definitely make him a little over the top, a little broken, right? So then comes Mitsurugi, and I must say, if it weren't for skill, nobody would ever think Mitsurugi is good. And well, maybe if I traveled, people would see, because I think I'm also pretty decent. But you see, when there's just one player who, right, like me, and I mean, if I don't travel, and if I played in this environment but not traveled, when people don't travel, when they don't play, there is always this talk about this character sucks, blah blah blah. It's everything that transpired with Mitsurugi during the first few months of the game. And despite me showcasing some good battles against top players, everybody would say, well, this character isn't played at tournaments. Nobody really learned this MU. Well, Belial is getting away with too much cheap stuff, etc., etc. People don't know the matchup, and well, that would go on and on and on. And well, I mean, some people would still place him a little bit higher, but overall, he will be somewhere around like A tier at best here, probably even lower, because and Mitsurugi in the first patches was incredibly busted. So, and still people thought he is bad. Okay, so why Mitsurugi is considered bad? Because he is not really this big read guy. He is more about defense, punishing neutral and neutral game, and since so many people suck at this, and since it takes a lot of time to develop good defense, to develop matchup knowledge, and these game matchups are deep, like real deep. So that would take a long time for him to shine if anybody ever cared to invest in this character, which wouldn't probably be the case. So he would be forever destined to stay low. But well, and I mean, this shows how important it is to have a player who represent a good character, for a player to be able to uh, to show the potential, to unlock it, so that people would see the character is good. Because bad players, even good players, keep on downplaying. They keep complaining because when you play a character, you always see the bad side, and when you see the bad side, well, RP managed to downplay Zaz for a long, long time until recently he found light. But like he was seriously saying stuff that Zaz is just like bottom 5, and you just gotta learn the Mu. So that's, and I mean, this guy's a good player, and well, that's what happens when you're struck with downplay virus. So, and a lot of people are sick with that these days. So, well, okay, so yeah, Mitsurugi, why is he good? Well, he has a sick punishment. He is probably the best character in the game at punishing on block and at punishing quiffs too. He has great lows, and that's important. He has great Okizeme, that's also important, contributes massively towards comeback factor. His movement is top tier. Well, you saw everything, and I think it's just his ability to perform well in matchups, and his power is directly tied to his matchup knowledge, because all of his little hits are defensive little hits. Like 1A is high crash, 2A is sidestep and little hit. His Wild Rising B is a counter hit, so that all of them is obviously designed to be used as a response, more the response rather than an active offense, like someone like Siegfried or Well, not all, like 3b is an offensive counter hit move. b6 is a semi offensive, I can say. It's not really used much, it's more of a random read kind of move. But yeah, besides 3b, a lot of his little hits and big damage is directly tied to being able to make a good read, or good defensive read. So and his, see, his 236A, which nobody is using up till now, and this move is crazy punisher, like 14 frame punisher for 35 damage that leaves you point blank at +8. That's sick. That's, not as good as Sophie I-14, but pretty damn close to it. So that's really good. Okay, so that's about it. Tsurugi is, and as you see, I still think he's top 3 in this game, despite, and he's definitely top 5, no matter how you look at him. So now Zasalamel, well, indeed, this character has flaws, and like I'm saying, this is more of a theory-based stuff, because right now a lot of people can't tell his moves apart, and that's really hard, but it's possible. So I think Thus is just why he's so, and he's another example of really good design of character. I think, well, not design but concept of character is really interesting, really unique. I mean, at some point he really is difficult to play neutral versus. He has sick range. His moves don't leave you any options at all, because you can sidestep some moves like 6BB, but everything else cannot be sidestepped. But then all his move, hit or block, will move you right in front of him, where he's not really that strong. But he's like, most of his moves are unsafe, or in a way you still can take a guess and punish him for that with decent risk reward. And then he has like pretty bad up close defense. So yeah, he is not that good a character unless you count his ring out game, because that is really phenomenal. And what's also phenomenal is his ability to bring you towards him. Like, I mean, you're the center of arena. He hits you once, hit or block, you're close. Then once he blocks something, he can back away again and do this stuff again, and you once again you will be brought towards him, and like 2 or 3 um, times he does that, and then you're close to the wall slash edge, and then you're going to fly. So this is something that's pretty bad. I think his ring out game is too strong, but I mean, I also think he's designed like that, but I'm sure he can be adjusted somehow to change that. And his C definitely contributes his general game plan. It covers a lot of his weaknesses. It really enables him to use that more, because you don't want to block that, and he has horizontal game. Well, I'm not gonna dive too much into his general gameplay idea. I think you get that. But despite all the weaknesses he has, this character has absolutely ridiculous comeback factor, absolutely ridiculous comeback potential. And I must note that his curses are just insane. His safety and damage he gets while having a few curses is just over the roof. So that's another really strong factor he has. So yeah, so thus is about ring outs, not much to say here. I think personally would love to see that change, no matter how unique or not. Seeing the Salamel play is always a little bit too ugly to bear witness to. So please, Namco, do something about it. Okay, so then comes our favorite and most requested explanation wise character in my tier list, Saphitia. And well, it's pretty easy to explain. I just think this character has absurd neutral tools. She is exceptional at limiting at limiting you in your movement, at limiting you in your buttons too, because she has such a phenomenal punishment tools like 236B. Her CE is pretty great because of the speed, and She's just like her task buttons. She's a defensive machine, and her offense is still pretty great, as Xifuka is showing. Despite she is a defensive character, she can be quite successfully played an offensive style. So her 1k is just crazy. It also, unsteppable low that's really annoying. That is kind of safe. Well, I mean, not safe. It's kind of not unsafe enough to for a move like that. It's like minus 14, I think, and amount of limitation it places on your opponent is just very good. So yeah, so she has a lot of tools that won't let people stab. She can defend exceptionally well. She has a lot of she has unstoppable meats. She has unstoppable lows. She has great 2-2b, great toss, great evasion, great punishment. Well, everything she has exceptional range. So this character really have no flaws. She is full of strong things, and I think that she is also really dependent, like Mitsurugi, really dependent on matchup knowledge. So if a Sophitia player has good neutral, if he knows matchups well enough, like the only Sophitia I think is playing more or less correctly is Shivapon from Japan, and he's probably the only reason, the main reason why she is considered so strong in Japan. Yeah, so I think Safitio could definitely rise higher in tier if and more people would have seen her power if she was played, if matchups are learned better, if she is played neutral better, because both Xef and Ramon, despite them being great players, their power lies elsewhere. I think they are not really suited that well for the character, in my opinion. Okay, so I think she just needs to play a little bit differently to be a true powerhouse. And that's why I place her here, because like I said, limitations she imposes on opponent are just ridiculous. So okay, so it's just a matter of can you take advantage of that or not. Now we're coming to Ivy here, and Ivy is well, I think she has flaws. Her close range game is definitely really lacking. She is forced to press unsafe attacks all the time. Unsafe attack that can be really poorly, that have like AA and AK, like 6AK, 6AA, well, stuff like that, and even her 2-2B, 2-2K, etc. Everything she has up close is pretty unsafe, and then some matchup that can punish her Christmas tree well enough, that is also unsafe. So what's left? In fact, her ridiculous damage from punishment, her, of course, her throws are pretty busted, and her definitely her real strong ranged game, which if your enemy played the matchup well enough won't be happening so much as much as she would love it to happen. It's not like she can fight at least 50% of the time at long range. She usually fights a little about 30% time at long range, and other is spent struggling at mid to close range and trying to stop enemy from going in, and that's where she's not real strong, but she has extreme damage from making a read, and that warrants great combat potential, and that warrants also her Okizeme is kind of good. These unbreakable throws also contribute greatly to huge burst of damage is always nice when you want to turn the tables, and then she can ring you out to the back pretty well. That is also something that, well, you see some arenas when your aggressive character against Ivy, you're pressing her, and she's back to the wall or to the edge, and then suddenly you don't really want to press anything there because random button can kill you. And against Ivy, this is like with the Azasalamel, I can kind of pressure him to the edge and then get a knockdown and back away, and most of the time I'll be fine. With Ivy, if I back away from there, I'm kinda in a bad spot because she has a lot of range and she can play her game. She has me right where she wants me. So that's another factor. that contributes so great damage, great comeback potential, and well, that's her main strength, and her ring out game. That is her main strong points, and in this environment, I think that is working out pretty well. Now, so I was inclined to put her a little lower, but with these tools combined, I just think, yeah, she is up there. She is up there because reads can be so profitable with her. Uh, and okay, so Sungmina. Well, then again, this is a character that has weaknesses. She's kinda slowish side at close range, and this is how her game plan is enabled, and I spoke in detail about this in Russian podcast about tier list we made together with Edge and Rufus. So I think that her mix-up up close, that a lot of people are complaining that Xingmina's close range isn't that bad at all, as we were advertised, you know. But yeah, if she didn't have that, she wouldn't be able to enable her long-range tools at close at close range, because when you come close to her, everything's unsafe against some characters at least, and the only reason she can force you to press is to, you know, if you stay and block, she can just duck and press a button, and if her full crouch mix up is slow, right, because she has to full crouch first. So I think that she can definitely have weaknesses that can be exploited, and the reason she's up here once again is not because she's some kind of absurd monster with lethal hit 6A, etc., but because her ring out game once again is pretty fucked up, and this is a comeback factor, a massive comeback factor, just by hitting a random button, and she can really limit your movement well enough, along with her strongest tools. She can really give you a hard time, so you will be pressing something and you will be hit by something, and that's where she can ring you out from far away. That's absurd, and that's the reason why she is not A tier but A plus tier. Okay, so then we have a very controversial character, that's 2B. And well, 2B, if it wasn't for her soul charge, which is best in the game, she would drop a tier or even two. I would probably put her somewhere at the beginning of B tier or maybe at the end of A tier, because I don't think she is a great character if you know the matchup, but once she pumps soul charge and her reversal edge is pretty strong, also, so she can gain meter and get this soul charge, and here her soul charge is just absurd. Once I learned she has a touch trap from uh, AGS soul charge AGS A, she can in fact touch all Yukimi by slightly delaying her AGS A plus B, and at that point, which also lead to like 70-80 damage and a reset OTG, which is in soul charge her AGS BB relaunches, right, and gives you another Okizami situation, and this is all unescapable. This is just bull, and she can easily one soul charge if you get hit by AGSA. You can easily lose like everything. You can lose like 150 damage easily just from one sequence. That is kinda well, not safe, but it's really unlikely for you to guess. You can't do much. You have to take this guess, and each of these guesses bring you once again into a mix-up situation that you can't really do much about. So this is the reason she's so high. She's just breaks all laws of physics and the game, and this is also about comeback potential, so she is sick at that, and that's why she's up here. Hi Bruce Amador, thanks. Hello Anvil too. Okay, now let's move on to A tier, and must say I was hesitating to put Yoshimitsu down here. I thought he might belong up there with A plus at the end, but then this character, well, Yoshimitsu I once characterized as a Vortex character actually. What I mean is I played, well, when I played two-dimensional fighting games, I found that there are some characters that have big flaws, but their reward of hit and their ability to set play is quite phenomenal, and that's how they live by. But very often these characters, like, I'll give an example. For example, Injustice 2, Gorilla Grodd, which I played, he could just hit you once and then force, like 2B does. He could just force an insane vortex game on you after hitting you. But then he had terrible buttons, and he had such a hard time hitting anybody, and then people could still guess right. Okay, so he was kind of bad. And then there is Street Fighter Force Akuma, which his weakness was his frailty, but he had great buttons and he had these good vortex mix-ups, and that enabled him to be good. So what I'm thinking is that if a vortex character, that basically a character that's reliant on hitting you once and then beating the shit out of you, uh, if that kind of character has strong buttons, some strong buttons, then he will probably be good, because strong buttons allow you to hit enemies more often. If he doesn't have strong buttons and his entire strength lies within his, superbly absurd knockdown game, for example, then he is probably good, because it's not just about getting a strong vortex. It's also about, well, it's not about how strong your vortex is, it's just about also how uh, easily you can achieve that. So Yoshimitsu has, and he's not exactly like all that vortex. He has wall game, he has some buttons, he's kind of hybrid, but I think he has some resemblance. Okay, so his ring out and wall is it's just Jesus Christ, what is that? Sorcery. But then he has hard time hitting people because his range is so unexciting. His AA is great, his BB is kinda good, his BA is nice. His full crouch 3K is obviously kinda great, his 6A plus B is amazing, but still his range is short. While he's really good at close range, it's not so hard to get away from him despite his meditation. K, that's another move that helps. Well, so yeah, he will struggle in neutral a lot, and he's mostly reliant on hitting you randomly and then killing you with a knockdown Okizeme, or with bringing you closer to the wall and then destroying you there when you can't really back away from him. He's a real monster. So yeah, so Yoshimitsu could belong to a higher tier, but I think his flaws are just enough to uh, put him at the beginning of A tier. He's definitely higher than everybody else in this tier, but he has difficulties, and these kind of difficulties will often lose you games just because you couldn't get in, just because you couldn't have started things, just because you get a bad arena, etc. Okay, so that's my point on him. Well, then Gerald. Well, this character is pretty simple. There's not much to talk about. I think he has. Okay, I think he has. His only weaknesses really is his frame data is not very exciting, and he's kind of dependent on meter. And I'm not saying that he really can't get hold of meter, that he will be left without meter at times, but he definitely could have. He definitely wants to use more of his meter based moves, and he can't sometimes. Like Irden is pretty expensive, right? He could have. Yeah, you always have to choose, do I really want to press art here? Because, well, having I10 frames interrupt that deals good damage, that's safe, is insane, right? But you wanna kind of conserve your meter for 6B, and then it's a little constraining. So I think beside that he's pretty good at neutral game, and I just read Linkor's commentary that he thinks that well, neutral forcing a neutral game on some character is not a bad thing. Well, yes, a lot of characters play neutral-based game here, but Geralt tools are really limiting also in that regard because he's just absurd. He's save 3A. That's a lot of distance. That's plus on counter hit. That's just I think this move is really strong, and he's like 6A 6A series okay, and he'll cover a lot of range. He's like his 1A is even reaches even further and great on counter hit. So yeah, well, I'm pretty sure Linkers is well aware of that, and it's not like I'm gonna say he's mistaken. Well, he's not definitely, but I just think that uh, and maybe that's why I wouldn't put Geralt higher, right? So because he's constantly forced to play neutral game, that's the part I think is definitely he's right, and some characters don't really mind that, and some characters can still outplay you, they can punish you, and well, but I think he usually have the upper hand in neutral game. It's just that his damage is not that high outside of 6B, and you can poke people a lot and then they still make a big read, and it's not like Geralt has a lot of comeback factor going on, so it's also not easy for him to set anything up from his pokes. Like I said, his frame rate is bad on block and not exciting on hit. Well, generic plus he has is like +2, so he is gonna have a difficult time coming back from a hard situation. And I also imagine something like a character that have a strong tools, have a strong comeback potential. Geralt will suffer at even yellow life level against these characters, because sometimes he will still have to press button with low rewards, somehow low rewards, and he still will have to risk losing a lot of life on a wrong spacing or wrong choice of options. So yeah, that's it for Gerald, I think. Well then, Emmy, she is really broken with roses. She's not so good without them. Crazy offense, very unique playstyle where she can really force you into pressing buttons on block. Well, she definitely can destroy any concept of neutral game at closer ranges, because if you can play with your timings against other characters, if you can force them into respecting you, well, you can't force Amy to respect shit. She's just this little disrespectful whore that will beat the shit out of you if you're not paying attention and if you don't know the matchup. So absurd 10 frames 6B, absurd 3A, absurd 2B, great buttons overall, good soul charge, good mix-ups, and the only real downside to her is her low damage without roses, and her kinda dependency on getting those roses. So yeah, you could quickly get roses and shine, and then you could guess everything wrongly, and then you're down like 2 rounds without roses, without sufficient power to make a comeback. So that is something that I think makes her a little low. She's definitely strong character, definitely A tier, because it's not so hard to get red roses at all, but still it's hard enough for her to struggle sometimes. And that also, well, I talked about how important it is to get a good comeback potential in this game currently, and that's something that Emmy is just not really great at. In fact, she is the reverse of that. If everything goes bad, she is fucked. Okay, yeah, this is Belial. I'm gonna probably upload this to YouTube. It will be stored in my Twitch videos recording also, so if you wanna watch this later, I'll try to upload my Twitch video recording to YouTube. Okay. Then okay, then we have Cervantes, and a lot of Cervantes people are saying that he is so bad. Okuba-san, please save us from this misery. Well, people, fuck you. Really, this character's damage is so fucking crazy. He's just lethal hit levels without any lethal hits. And I know he has flaws, but he also has great laws. He has great range. His neutral game tools are just ridiculously good. He's 8, 6. He's 2A plus B. What the hell, people? This move is fucking absurd. It's knockdown, good damage, great Oki. It has easiest fucking lethal hit condition ever, and I'm so pissed now. I'm swearing so much because I'm so pissed at Cervantes player for not seeing how powerful he is. All they can think about their lovely combo whiffing too much. Well, people, don't sit your ass in the lab so much trying to do a fancy wall combo. Just go there and play, learn the matchup, learn to the neutral game, and then you won't have these issues. Just do some simple combo, and you won't have to suffer those whiffs that you're talking so much about. Well, yeah, some whiffs are definitely awkward and they will happen, but they happen to everybody. Amount of times I had stuff go right through my opponent's back because they aligned strangely and my launcher didn't hit them. That happens a lot and I live with that. You know, just man up, grow a pair, okay? And then it will be alright, and then you will be able to play like Shenchan does. Yes, definitely Angel step style. Servantal players are just a bunch of whiny pussies. That's all. Except Shanchan. I love Shanchan. Despite he cries too much, well, that's my baby boy, so it's okay. He comes once in a while to me, says, Dad, these mini Asvel players are being bad to me, and I say, well, boy, you gotta be able to stand up for yourself. Pick another characters. Don't torture yourself so much. And then he leaves in tears. Well, that's how our usual dialogue goes by. Anyway, so Cervantes is real good. His neutral tools are great. His C is nice with Punisher with a lot of range, a lot of damage. Uh, he's able to play real well. He's able to limit your opponent well. His soul charge is definitely shit, but I think if that's buffed in season 2, then he will quickly rise up a tier. And if his whiff issues are fixed, like everybody's asking, well, you're looking at top tier material. Well, his GI game, crazy. His little hit, 2A plus B is sick. His A6 is incredible. His A B slide is real good. Punisher, despite being kind of hard to input sometimes, it's still great damage. His pokes AA, his 2A are super good. He has great low pokes. He has great BK and KA neutral game tools. Well, there's not a button I can think of that is bad. And then his wall is absurd. And then he's definitely has comeback potential with that kind of wall, with that kind of damage. So Cervantes is good, and I can be convinced otherwise. Okay, so Taki. Well, another character people think bad, and I think I talked about her in my neutral game video. I think that this character really limits you by her sole ability to punish stuff. She's really good at this. Her I-12 4BA is sick. Her A is 10 frames, real good frames. Her jump attack strong. Her burst damage is phenomenal. Her close range tools are overall just great. It is what you want to do with stacking. You just don't want to play long range game. You just want to get in and block some. And even if your gouge gets a little bit messed up, it's not a problem because you can mess up their gouge very quickly too. And at close range, her mix-up is absurd. Is probably the only mix-up with such a positive risk reward. Her risk reward of 6-6B's throw mix-up is just absurd. It's probably the best in the game. If you look at that mathematically wise, it's safe-ish against most characters. It's safe. It deals like ton of damage. Her throws are really good, and if you are able to just always press this mix up against somebody, and somebody is on defense all the time and have to guess, even if sidestepping or ducking, then I think Taki will still have good risk reward, even if your enemy have a chance to step or duck. So I think that is really uh, strong. So at closer range, her ability to limit your buttons by her strong punishment, by her strong counter hit tools is just that crazy. So you don't really, you can't really do much, and she is phenomenal at punishing stances. I will once again I explained that in my neutral game video, so I won't go too much into detail here, but she can really limit you really strongly at closer range. So just people just come in, block some, be patient, block more, and then when your enemy is reduced to doing something like BB or AA because everything else will be punished, then you can really fuck them up. That's how we play with Taki, I think. Well, you can play some neutral game like Rufus does, but well, his strongest ability is ability to counter hit and punish at close range. So just get there and get going. I think, and at closest range 3B is just on its own. 3B is phenomenal move. It's really good. It's spammable despite being kind of punishable slightly if an enemy makes a read at 1 to 3 success ratio, because so much she can do from this 3B. He can get maybe a small punish, but the way it limits enemy you can't really backstep from Taki at close. Well, if you broke her command throw and she had 3B, a lot of characters can't even step that. So how about that kind of limitations? Okay, so yeah, okay, Taki is good. Leave with that. Then Shanghua. Well, Shanghua is well, she has great close range as well. She has good mid screen. She's one of those characters that is more on the defensive side, and not just because her C is so strong, but because her auto GIs are so strong. Her A is really that good. A 10 frame poke that deals a lot of damage on counter hit. Well, not a lot of, but decent damage. Okay, and she has unstoppable meats, etc, etc. Her throw game is good, her Okizeme game is good. She can deny Oki for a lot of characters too, but in fact I think she's one of the characters that's kinda decent against as well, because she has a lot of interesting tools against him. But anyway, I just want to say that she is similar to Safiti and Mitsurugi in a sense that she is more about defense, about knowing the matchup as well, about and some of her tools are similar, to Taki, because she want to be up close, she want to be able to apply some pressure there. Well, she definitely isn't even half as bad as people claim she is, because she can punish, she can really limit you at close range. Her mid moves are safe, most of them are safe, and well, it's just that nobody really invested in her. I think that's why she is not so menacing at this moment. And I mean, people who want to play this kind of game will probably stick with Mitsurugi anyway. So yeah, I think that's about it about Xenhua. Can't say really much about it. She has some weaknesses. Okay, she has that 6BB, for example, a move that she kind of has to rely on at some situation, and that's a phenomenal move for catching backdashes. So yeah, but once her ring out game been nerfed, the reward is a little bit not so much in her favor, and then She definitely have some poor matchups, and her auto GIs are still a big risk, but that's why she's down here and not up there. Okay, she has some great tools, but she has to risk in the process. And that brings me to Tira, one of the most requested characters as well. Well, I think she has about the same problem I was just talking about Xenhua, that she in some situation she just has to take unnecessary risk. For example, her main, and she's playing so differently from everybody else. And mind you, I've invested quite some time in Tira. I've played this character for a while on ranked. I've uh, I think she is really strong, but and her movement is that's fantastic. That's something else. She can just hold back and just run away real fast, faster than Mitsurugi can even backdash cancel. She presses forward and she runs immediately right into your face. Her step is good, her hitbox is good for evading attacks. It's real hard to touch her. And the problem is she has difficulty dealing with lows, and her response to a lot of complicated situations like stance games is reversal edge. And while her reversal edge is also quite good, it's still a guess in a guess, and you don't really want to take these guesses too often, because if you guess wrong, you lose everything. So despite having these great tools in Gloomy, and her Jolly is still her neutral game in Gloomy is just incredible. Her neutral game in Jolly is still good. I think it's not phenomenal, but it's good. And her, well, like 1B is pretty good poke too, so she has some tool, but her damage in Jolly is definitely so low that you really want to get out of that quick, unless you get CE. And in some matchups, like Mina matchups, I don't just see how do you punish Mina without having CE, so you have to rely on your reversal edge again. And that's just not the kind of reads you want to be making all the time, because even if you read in the first, if you apply reversal edge in neutral, something like that, you're still taking a huge risk, especially against Saint Mina, for example. And then you make this read, and then you have to make another read. Well, so that's what makes her, I think, A, because at the end of A actually, because I think some situations she just can't handle properly. She can't take low risk chances and be fine. And at the same time, she has plenty of strength. Her range is insane. Her movement is insane. Her 4K is a unique I-12 Punisher that really limits a lot of matchups where some characters trade with enemy. She will trade favorably. Her horizontals are absolutely great, some of the best in the game. So her Gloomy, like I said, is really good. Gloomy Theory is definitely A plus. There's not much to talk about. She's just absurd, great range. But having Jolly out there also kinda wears her down. Is something where why she is here. The difficulty she has with some stuff, some matchups, and the fact that she has to deal with Jolly stance that is really underwhelming in damage, and that once again that creates her, basically her comeback factor is her Coda stance, right? And that's hard to that's not always achievable. Sometimes you achieve it when you're really dying. When you're last round, not a lot of health, and then you're, oh yay, I have this super strong uh, coda, but well, I guessed wrongly and died. So so yeah, that's what I think is her problems currently. That her comeback potential is not great as great as it could be. If it were easier to get into this coda, that she will probably be better. So her randomness, I think, is what is troublesome. Okay, so then Nightmare. Okay, once again, I can't say much about Nightmare. I think he's fantastic tournament character. In a first to two environment, when people have to adjust to you quickly, and if you can guess correctly a few times, you just win. His comeback potential is insane, and that's what carries him, I think. Because essentially everything he has is unsafe against some matchups more than others, and but his damage is so good it makes up for it. And his soul charge definitely can put a lot of pressure on people, and he can suddenly kill people in 2 hits or something like that. So Nightmare isn't much to talk about because he's just that kind of character that lives by high risk, high reward. His close range is really good, I think, a point blank range. Nothing can be stepped. It's pretty strong. But then it's not how he kills people, right? He still have to take a few of those wild guesses and guess right. So in a tournament, that's fine because you can just try one thing, it didn't work, try other thing, people get randomly hit, people die, then we're playing first two, and then well, you're down a game, and you don't really have a lot of space to probe him anymore. You have to make reads again, and you have to basically play his game because reads are his game. And then if you lose first game against Nightmare, your chances are fading real fast at winning the whole set. So the reason he's doing so well in tournaments is this, I think, and in a long sets he's not that great in my opinion, but he's still decent. Okay, he can still play by these reads. Then okay, then I have Raph and Maxi, and these are characters I was really considering putting higher. I was considering putting them in A, and about Raphael I'm still uncertain. I just put him down here because, well, um, I think, like I said, comebacks matters. Raf has terrible comeback factor. Raf has some flaws. Specifically, he's not too good against beaten step. He has to, apply kind of specific movement to deal with that, which is not always possible. And like at the wall, for example. So he has some spots where he's real weak. But overall, this character has insane range, good frames. He has, this. Well, I don't really think he has so much good stuff besides his range and his ability to punish people. But that's already good enough. Yeah, some matchups are hard for him because they can punish so well, but Raf who can eye prep well, that who can, who know the matchups well, it can really force his game upon you because of how much reach he has, from how far away he can pressure you, and it's really hard to step guard against Raphael because his moves are tracking so well against step guard. So yeah, so it's not like he has some. The reason why I put him down here, it's not like I can think of about a large amount of strength beside of his range and punishment, and that's just, I think, not enough. If he had better comeback factors, I'd put him higher definitely, but right now I think he is not that great at coming back from difficult situations. His guard burst is also decent, I think, but it really depends on if you can sneak some of the slower moves towards your opponent, then you can kind of react to SE. So he stands Serpent embraces Ivy stance. I don't remember how it's Shadow Weight, I think. This is preparation 2. Yeah, and it's reactable by a lot of characters, so yeah, so it's not easy to apply guard burst damage, but even so, if you block his regular moves, it's still dealing some amount, especially 6/6B plus K, which is a really insane move. Well, anyway, I just don't want to talk too much about his move list, and I just did it. But anyway, I think Graf is just a good character, but it's a little lacking to be up there. Okay, that's my point. And about Maxi, I think he's really, really good. I mean, I really think he's good. Well, it's just I found out yesterday talking to Larky. I found out and I rewatched some of the Rich Sticks videos, and I realized that his one of his better move, like 6A, tends to whiff awkwardly just because his second hit decides to go through your enemy at random reasons for no particular reasons, and that's really bad when your key moves whiff randomly. That's bad. So I think that is one of the reasons I put him a little lower, but I think Maxi is not very reliant on stance currently. He has great tool 6AB, 6A, he has absurd 2-A, he has great damage, he has good punishment, like on block or on whiff. He has some stuff he can do, and not a lot of Maxi players using P plus K, but I think they should. It's a great move, it's a great punisher. Yeah, but some matchup he has trouble, I think. I might be wrong actually, but I think he has trouble dealing with some of the stances, and that makes some matchups bad. Then, while he has some decent comeback potential, it mostly is reliant on tricky stuff, like some gimmicky stuff. He can come back, like when he this infamous 4A plus B hold setup where he just resets the game, but everybody knows that by now. Well, he has a few others that when learned are difficult, like his right cross AA combo into restand, which is kinda good, but it's still not as well good, and it's you just don't duck, you don't take a whole lot of damage. Well, and his Okizeme definitely could be better. So he has this comebacks. His comeback potential is largely gimmicky. He's not great at Okizeme. He has super good neutral tools at close range and even at farther range. A lot of horizontal meets that are hard to escape. But then his stance game is not that great against opponents who know him. His guard burst is not strong enough to warrant a presses against stance. So yeah, so he has some flaws. He also has some great buttons, so that's why I think he's good. But he has some flaws that prevent him from being really, really strong character. And Maxi has been twice on top 8 in evolution. I think it was Tamonegi. So that's something we have to really taken well to account for. We have to consider that fact that Maxi, despite being considered by some Maxi players, once again, all people who say Maxi is better Maxi players somehow. Well, people, I just have one advice for you people. It's I've been given it since a long time. I can't understand why somebody would play a character he don't think is good, because when I play a character I tend to see the bright side. Actually, if I like the character, I'm trying to find something good about him, because well, it's natural. When you like a girl, you want to see good things about her, right? You don't want to think about how she looks like when she's pulling, like, or what she's doing with this guy from a football team when you're not looking, and etc etc. You just want to see the good sides. If she's a little bit dumb, you're thinking that's charming, and while you're in love. So that kind of things I think applies to everything. When you like something, and you want to see the good side. But somehow these Maxi players, they suck in ranked somewhere. They think, okay, that's not me. I'm a good player, and that must be my character that making me suck. Well, people know, big news, you suck, deal with that. Come on, get good. And that is what an advice I want to give to anybody in Soul Calibur. If you're playing a character that you think is holding your true potential from shining, please change that character, and you will see that you have no fucking potential, dude. You're destined to forever lurk outside of top 8s, okay? Just unless you pick Aswell, okay? Aswell can sometimes face roll you into some placing, making you believe that you were right all the way. Well, not. It's not your character that's weak. It's just Aswell that's fucked up at the moment. And Season 2 will fix that, I'm sure, unless they nerf buff them again. And that will be the end of Soul Calibur 6 for all of us. Anyway, So yeah, Maxi is decent. He can win. He can place top 8 at the most prestigious and most big tournaments like Evolution. And if that Maxi who was there isn't you, it's not because his bracket he's got lucky with the bracket or anything else. It's just because this character really has the capacity to place. Okay. Then Waldo. Same here, evolution champ. I think his real downside is that he is really dependent on neutral game, and the reason why I think he fails at that is because he doesn't really have great punishment. It's not really easy for him to punish. He has great time controlling range with 2-A, 4-4-A, but if it's even 2B is kind of decent. His 6-6-A is pretty interesting, despite I think it's kind of giable on reaction. I think, but what I think about Waldo is when you sidestep or whiff anything, because you are good at ranged game, right? And you want people to try to stop you from doing this horizontal safe middle attacks. And if your enemy whiffs something, it's really hard for Waldo to punish it properly, because he only has stuff like 6-6-6B, like 2-2B, like 3B, which are kind of slowish. His 4K is ok, but it lacks range again, and it's not a spectacular damage levels too. So, and if people know his Oki game, you're not gonna be hitting too much of those Mantis mix-up. So, yeah, the point is, despite really being good at neutral game, he has great neutral tools. He's not really that good at punish. He has to commit to a read often, more often than not, and that is something you really wanna avoid. And not like this character has no interesting stuff. It's not like he's bad. Like, I mean, he won Evo, right? Even if for the people been saying that Decapon won because nobody knew Tira, and now people are saying that Utota won because nobody knew Walda. And by the way, those two will be fighting this month at 19th November. I think there will be an epic battle between the two. But anyway, these two people who won because nobody ever cared to learn the matchup, well, I think that's a part of meta. Some characters are less known. That's the fact. You can't know all characters equally. And of course, Waldo has advantage of not being the well-known character, so use it. And Maxi isn't very well known too, so some things will work to your advantage. And even if people know the matchup, Waldo can still win. I mean, balance is really good in this game. So yeah, I told you why I think Waldo isn't that spectacular, isn't higher despite winning Evolution, but I think he's still pretty damn good. Now Kilik and the Party Wolf doing an amazing job at Kilik gameplay. I think he's definitely deserves a better results if he cared to play random Cassandra, which by the way I think his Cassandra sucks balls, but anyway, he plays Groh, I think also. He plays Tira, which alone requires a huge commitment to be able to do well. I think you can't really play Tira without maining her, without playing her most of the time. She's just not gonna be good because of how much small things you have to, and I'm not even talking about stance shifting, so. And despite that, I think despite playing so many characters and spreading his attention so much, I think Party Wolf is the best Kilik. He definitely should play him more. He definitely can place better if he focuses on him. I think Kura is doing a good job. Well, for Kilik, I think the real reason why he's not doing so well, because most Kilik players still consider him to be somewhat of a mid-screen character. And I'm not saying about top players, I'm just saying a lot of down players out there used to play Kilik in 4-5, and they think, Xiba 4-5, think that he is ranged character like Sengmino. Well, Kilik, surprise, is a fucking close range fighter. He is not good at ranged game at all. He has decent tools, like a lot of characters are hybrids here. They kinda have tools for long range, kinda have tools for close range. Some of them like them have great Oki, others have great neutral, etc, etc. So they kinda mixed and mashed in there. It's really hard to tell apart, much like Cervantes was more of ranged character at in 5, you know, he's freebie launched, etc. In this game he's more of a rushdown mid-screen neutral game character. That's quite different. A lot of people still can't adjust to that change. And Kilik is a close range fighter with a lot of good close range moves, and close to mid range. Okay, his 3B for once is quite sick. His AA is great, his BB is great, his 6A is quite good. I think his Wild Rising B is just, wow, it's really good. It's absurdly good, I think. So his assortment of lows is pretty interesting. Yeah, I think Kilik is definitely an interesting character that can play, that can win, and Pativulf has shown that pretty well. And once again, what I think he is lacking is his comeback factor. That's all he really needs. He doesn't really have that strong tools in Soul Charge. If his Soul Charged throw would would be reverted to be unduckable after startup, well, he would be much better. His comeback factor would have skyrocketed. Even if they made it slower, that would still be insane. Like, even if it was 16 frame, that would be uh, still great. And the Diesel report asks me why does Aswell is S tier. Well, that's interestingly worded, but I see like no one playing him. Well, that's because you are looking the wrong way, dude. Everybody's playing Aswell. Aswell is dominant in Russia, in France, in USA. The only country he's not dominant is in Japan. Uh, and we still have a load of Aswells in top 8 even there. If you care to actually Google up the tweet about all major tournaments wins and placing, you will see that Aswell is leading by margin. He's like had the most I mean major tournament wins. He had the most placing in top 8s. So this character undoubtedly had the best tournament results of all other characters. He's just the best and contestedly best. He's not just, you know, a consensus that he's good, like with Hilde, that people said, well, she didn't win anything, or with Viola, people said, well, Viola is not really doing well at tournaments at all. Well, not now. Aswell is doing phenomenally good in tournaments. He's just winning everything and winning a lot of tournaments, placing a lot of top 8s. So there's just no denying he is absurdly strong. Okay, so back to yeah. Okay, so let's finish that with Kilik. Oh yeah, I was talking about Cassandra. Let me do Cassandra afterwards. So yeah, for Kilik, yeah, to sum it up, if I think if Kilik had better comeback options, he would be great, because his soul charge is not impressive, his CE is not impressive at all, his overall tools are real solid, but and he can deal some damage off a read, but his, you know, block punishment is good. Definitely his GI is good, but it's his block punishment could be, I think, could be better. What he could have some better options for, you know, smaller unsaves, and also because he doesn't really have these comeback factors other characters have. Yeah, his BBB is pretty good, Anton. It's great. Yeah, so that's why I think he's so good at rushing people down. AABB is really good. He has a lot of quick pokes that are great. He has a mid-screen that will really outperform most close range fighters, and at the same time having all those advantages of close range. Great lows. So yeah. Anyway, I think it's just that. So he has some issues, and his Okizeme is, I think it's good, but not phenomenal again. So that also contributes to no comeback. thing. So if he had maybe better throws, maybe better soul charge, maybe better Oki, then he would be definitely higher. Right now, it's not easy for him to make a good comeback on somebody, and that factors in. So now let me talk about Cassandra. Well, Cassandra is I'd put her either at the end of A tier or somewhere after Raphael and or Maxi, maybe between them, maybe after, because well, Cassandra I think is not really good because she has some flaws, design flaws. I think will in a long run will really hurt her risk reward. And I was saying about people playing the game right, and with, for example, even without discovering stuff like step 6-5G cancel step, she already was pretty weak to step down, step to G. She really had a difficult time setting up her attack flow, because whenever she hits you with something being 6-6A, 6BB, whatever else she could have done, 1A, she couldn't immediately mix you up. And despite, of course, you could have run in and tried something, but then her counter hit is not that strong to prevent people from pressing, and if you run in and do something, people could just press something in return, and you will be stuffed. And despite being an aggressive character, up close character, she had actually pretty average risk reward up close. And now that step 6G, step 6-5G is a thing, and her tracking on her verticals are just real bad, one of the worst in the game. So when people can just, you can't even 236A. I mean, in most situations you can't even do that. So you're down to like, if people will either mesh or step uh, down guard, you're basically forced to, if you want to have a good risk reward, if you want to have a reward that's applicable in tournament standards, when you don't have a lot of time to figure your enemy habits, well, you're down to 3A, and which is also, by the way, suffers to step 6 5G. You're down to 3A or AA, which are not that good. Well, AA is just shit, and 3A is good, I guess, but since it's also blockable by step 6 5G, that's no longer an option. So she suffers. It's not easy for her to get a good read, and despite being so well, so like, one can say she's neutral based, right? Like, she has some tools that can limit opponent in a sense. She has some good buttons, but then again, she's not spectacular at punishing whiffs, and a lot of her moves somehow magically weave through enemy, like 214B, I think, weaves more than I'd like to see it. Her 22A plus B is just, it's easier to count a situation where it doesn't weave than when it does. It weaves just too much. So yeah, unless these problems are fixed, unless step 6-5G is out, she is destined to be somewhere low. If anybody cares to really perfect the matchup, to really play, and this is another thing why I think matchups are so deep in this game, why they're so difficult, because every character demands different. If you want to play it right, if you want to play perfectly, every matchup requires different approach. Different moves often are need to be used different. Like with Amy, you have to constantly mix high and mid attacks to prevent her. You can't really delay stuff. Versus Cassandra, you have to defend by either, say, attacking or step 6 Gene or step 2 Gene, etc. There's a lot of situation you want to do that. Against like some other characters, you may want to backdash more or press different buttons. Well, some characters with a stronger level 3 GI, you will want to consider doing more of heavier pokes that are level 2, etc. So if you really want to shift your risk reward better and better in your favor, you will want to be using different game plan and different moves, often different moves against different characters, and that's not easy, that's mad hard. I don't think it's even possible, but if somebody really cares to learn the Cassandra matchup and apply the right strats against it, even at the most basic of its levels, I think people will see that she is not that good at all. Mind you, she has some comeback factors. Her soul charge is pretty interesting, and her uh, damage bursts when she has divine, how it's called, divine fury, divine power. When she has those lightning across lightnings on her sword and shield. She has some good damage. She can do that. She has great throws, even if it lacks range. But is still, I think her problems are well, so if I look at her from that perspective, I could put her in A, but then I look at her downsides and I want to put her in B. So that's what I think about Cassandra. I know Rikuta already day one thought Cassandra was just bad because she doesn't get good reward from horizontals. Well, yeah, that's an obvious thought, but then once again, it's furthered by existence of step 65G, which is really a game breaker here, game changer. She's not able to even do any horizontals anymore. I mean, you're in a tournament and you're just playing somebody you have no info on, you have no read on. And I know I told this is not a tournament list, but I still just to speculate. You need solid options. You don't want to rely on, making a specific reads. You just want to play more about having a good coverage of your tools, and she doesn't have that at the moment. I think she is not good at this point of the game. No, not. It's not like she's not good. She's not great. She's not A plus like some people think. She's not up there. She's somewhere below the middle. And the balance is fantastic in this game. When I say somebody is bad, I mean this character can still place or even win tournaments, so whatever. Hulk of GP says Zamfir thinks Siegfried is weak also. It's just ban this guy from your feed, dude. Everybody who thinks that Siegfried is bad is, got to take a line for lobotomy. These people are beyond saving. Also sterilization probably, because we can spread idiots. You can have it anyway. So well, okay, well, weak as in weaker than most people think. Okay, okay, okay. I hear this guy. Anyway, Groch. Now, Groch has some of the amazing buttons in the game. Like he has 6BB, confirmable safe thing that leads to his pretty good stance mix-up. He has sick guard damage, he has great frames, he has great evasion, 6XA. His soul charge is pretty decent, he definitely has comeback potential. Well, I can't say he is bad because he is lacking something, and he might actually I think he might be stronger than people think. He might be stronger than I think, because 6XA 6V you don't really have to end that, and submit to being punished. You don't really have to, you have 6AA, which is a read from an enemy, so he has to either reversal edge or submit to stance game. And he definitely has some interesting close range tools. He has some long range tools, and I think he's not really good because his defense is kind of bad. I think he is not. He has really bad punishment on block, or he has bad punishment on whiff. Outside of CE, he doesn't really have any good while rising punishment. Well, he can punish throw with what I think is 8 BK. I think this move is. He can do that, so throws can be punished decently, but lows not so much, and everything else. So he basically just has to press a lot, and that's not a good strategy in a game where a good read can take away 1/3 of your life. So I think despite having comeback potential, he is also very easy to come back on. So yeah, so that's I think why he's bad. Not bad, just not really top tier. He's just somewhere among the weakest characters of the game, which are still pretty decent. Then Talim is something I just put here because people put her low generally, and I know some Talim. I played her in Soul Calibur 3. I tried to play a little bit of her in Soul Calibur 6, and I think what she really has good mobility. Her weakness, and I'm gonna say I'm not Talim expert. I didn't play her enough, maybe like 10 games or something, just to get a grasp of her move list, which I kinda know from back days. I watched how he called something about grandmother. I think this guy. Uh, she now goes by the nickname I can't use because apparently it includes N-word. And also Shen Yuan, I think, yeah, Grandma's got game. Yes, that one. I saw some interesting Japanese Talim. I don't remember his name, and he really impressed me. I so I saw some good Talim videos. I analyzed it, and I think she's interesting. What I and I put her here because I still, despite seeing this with, despite playing her bit, I still have very little clue about this character, so my thoughts are kinda irrelevant about her. But I think she definitely could use better range and better punishment because without wind cannon, I don't see how she's going to punish people whiffing. So to do that, uh, yeah, and people will be whiffing because they want to keep her out, right? Because they don't want her jumping around like a monkey. So they will want to stop her and they will press. And then what do I do about them pressing? Well, I can, I think, fix BB and try to counter hit them, which is not exciting at all. So yes, so I think this is why this is probably why I put her low because I see a lot of people. I see how a lot of people put her low. I don't have enough experience on her to say that for sure. I just put her low just because basically. But the problems I see difficulty. Not difficult getting, but people will press to prevent her from getting in, and she doesn't really have a lot to deal with that. That's why I think she might not be very exciting. Lacks range basically to punish anything. And besides, like again, unless she has C, which is, you know, is not really that big of a factor. Anyway, so yeah, so Talim is. I'll just stop here to not to be embarrassed by, not to embarrass you by some stupid words I'm saying because of the lack of knowledge. Okay, so Astaroth. Well, Astaroth is an interesting character. Definitely can come back. He has great damage of his throws. He has great damage overall. His Poseidon Tide is this 214A is quite a great move. One of the best moves, even if slow. But this character is pretty terrible at punishing anything, so his defense is non-existent. If you duck a throw, unless you have CE, you can't really punish that well. If you block something, you can punish that well, you have to take a guess. And that all this fact that he has to take a guess even where other characters would have punished, and why he works so well so far, I think, is because most people are just not used to playing, defense after doing something like -14. They're just like, let me pray nothing bad happens to me. But then if they factor in like reversal edge or GI sometimes, or when they really understand that it's safe to move when at a huge minus, well, not safe to move when it's safe to do something defensive afterwards, and then Asteros is gonna be having much harder time. And then, like I said, his game in offense, he's mostly about pressing a lot, because once again he can't really punish that well. Even his 2-2b is more of a read move than any kind of reactionary move, so he will have to just do something and then do something again. Like, he has plenty of tools for that. He has armor, he has this auto GIs, he had these revenge moves, well, that is armor. He has some good crouch counter hit moves to sidestep. He has 2-2b. Despite having he can basically he can press almost at every minus. He can press something and still, like, he has good GI. He has really good reversal edge, where he has like two options, like K and B, that enemy can't really block because he can, even on block, he will do something good. So his reversal edge is really good, even if once again on a slowish side, still good. Well, yeah. So, but I think his flaws, this game plan that, and he has comeback factor, but his game plan of uh, pressing a lot, and at the same time his inability to take a round where other characters would have taken that round by not punishing things. That is why I think he, and I've told you about the comeback factors. Well, other character that can deal a lot of damage. Well, you just, you have a lead on an enemy. He's down, he's real low in life, and you just don't have much to do. You can 2k to A, and you probably will have to do quite a few of those to finish him off, like they're yellow. And at that point, you can just you still can't block. You still can't do any defensive game, where other characters would have just backed away and, wait out and punish and, poke. Astros just don't have that luxury. He still has to play a risky game, and that will lead to people coming back on him way too much. They will just kill him for guessing wrongly. And yeah, that's why I think he isn't great. Well, that's why I think he's in fact the worst character in the game. Probably, I don't know about Talim, but the one character I can't say much about. But beside that, I think Asteros might be the worst in the game, and still he is, like, I can't emphasize that enough. I think every character in this game is wonderful. He can be played, he can be top 8. Hell, he could even win, I think, with proper, you know, luck. But as far as it goes, this reasoning is why I think Asteros is still the worst of all the characters we have here. So yeah, that concludes my tier list. I'm gonna be ending my stream real soon, despite Rotharian doing restream. It was kind of late. Then yeah, it's all ordered. It's from strongest to weakest. And you can rewatch that in recording. I will put it uploaded on my YouTube channel. Well, if you have any questions at this point, guys, feel free to ask them, because I'll be around like 5 more minutes, unless you ask me anything, and I'll be finishing my stream. Let me just wait for questions for a while and contemplate existence. Yeah, I did talk about Secret Oki. That's absurd, obviously. Well, the fact how many times you can force a get up on enemy is probably the best in the game. I spoke about how A plus B is, well, even small things like when you do a 3B counter hit A plus B combo, then A plus B is a first block. That's kind of strong, especially since AB slide is actually great on block. Siegfried, like I told, is one of the character that has positive risk reward on block usually. Well, at close range they can 2A, but it's still not enough to prevent him from doing AB. Yeah, his Okizami is insane. A lot of people can't escape base hold B, OTG, and that's guard damage. Well, yeah, if you watched that from the beginning, I talked about that. I talked about that, and I don't want to repeat myself. I was thinking about playing Zasalamel. Well, I think it's about too late. We have to wait and see what season 2 brings us. Then I spoke about Cass. I said I'd put her either at the end of A tier or between Raf and Maxi in B tier. Something like that, so she's not strong. It wasn't far away from that point. Just, open the recording, scroll back a little bit, and you will hear my thoughts about her. Basically, it comes down that her moves whiffs too much, she lacks range a little bit, and she's murdered by existence of step 6 5G. That's, I think, a quick summary of it, but I talked in much more detail about that. So yeah, any more questions, or should I just stop here? I'm surprised nobody is actually bashing on this. Nobody's saying that I am wrong. Maybe because people who are making these characters and all the trolls are sleeping. Yeah, okay, no more questions. I think that's a good point to stop the stream. Thank you for watching. I hope my explanation was sufficient to you. Yeah, I talked about server down players quite a bit. That was passionate. Yeah, I would also explain Sophitia in detail, I think, so feel free to watch that part if you're interested why and how that I came to that conclusions. Okay, thank you for watching, guys. See you sometime in season 2.